We are going to go ahead and get started now. So welcome everyone for attending the second informational webinar for the NASA Space Tech Catalyst Prize. Again, thanks for jumping on to learn more about this recognition competition. We will be going over a few items today to really, onboard you into this competition so you have a sense of what the background is, how this kind of fits into the broader NASA ESIP funding landscape, the competition objectives, really what we're trying to achieve by helping run this type of competition. We'll go over the overall prizes, what you as entrants will need to submit, and then look at how those submissions will be judged. So it's really important to take that into consideration when building your submissions. We'll give you a sense of the overall timeline. And then we can finish out with QA and concluding remarks. And I also do want to dedicate a little bit of time before Q&A just to give you a demo of the website, just so that you have a clear sense of where to submit, and then one or two new features that have been added to the site to support the submission development process, namely a save feature, so that you can now save your submission. Really quickly, I'll do an introduction. My name is Oliver Gerlin. I help run Ensemble. Ensemble is a prize challenge management company that's partners with NASA and helps different agencies run prize competitions and open innovation initiatives. This initiative is led by Dina Lampert. Dina, you want to introduce yourself, and then you can dive into the background.
All right. Thank you guys for coming. I'm Dina Lambert. I am the Inclusive Innovation Lead for NASA's Early Stage Innovation and Partnership. So I definitely appreciate you all coming and indicating an interest. So how about we get into kind of who we are and what we do? So a lot of people know that we have a mission of exploration and discovery, and a lot of that work is done at the center. But even much more of that work is done with research investments within academia and industry to help develop and seed our future missions. So we work with small businesses, universities, other NASA researchers, and even the general public. All right. So what we do is housed within about 5 different programs. And as you can see, our portfolio makes over $350 million of research investments via these 5 programs, from things that you may be familiar with, such as SBIR, our Small Business Innovation and Research, also STTR, if you've worked with a university and a small business, our prizes, challenges, and crowdsourcing, which engages the general public with providing solutions to some of the questions that we're asking. And then even as far as our NASA Innovative Advanced Concept Program, which engages thoughtful concepts for missions that are probably 20, 30 years down the line. But finally, we also do work with the Space Tech Research Grant, which has made over 300 awards to universities around the country annually. The group that I sit with is a support function across all of these programs for inclusive innovation, and that is meant to provide resources, insight, and consultation to those 5 programs. All right, next slide. So what we do as far as the funding mechanisms comes across via grants that you may see within STRG or NIAC or even SBIR, which is essentially an investment by the government to say, hey, we really like the idea or concept that you have. Here is a certain amount of funding to do it. Go with it and continue the work. Then we shift over into contracts, which is a lot more structured. It has very specific requirements that we send out to industry and sometimes academia to respond to. And then we make a selection with the expectation of a deliverable at the end. We do some work with internal research and development awards within our 10 NASA centers. And then finally, like this Catalyst Prize, we do utilize challenges, which again allows for engagement by the public as individuals and as organizations. All right, next slide. Okay, so with all of that said, one of the things that we did as a program is to take a step back and say, hey, are we engaging the full breadth and depth of innovators that are out there? And what we noticed is that those that respond to our solicitations or our funding opportunities kind of tend to clump into certain geographic zones or have a certain profile that they have had a lot of experience in responding to funding opportunities. So we wanted to create a mechanism that reached out to individuals and organizations that are in nurturing and advancing innovators and researchers from underrepresented groups, marginalized communities, and then those who are maybe unfamiliar with NASA or even federal funding opportunities. So this is what this prize will do, is to engage and celebrate those individuals and organizations who amplify the capabilities of underrepresented space technology innovators and researchers. All right, next slide. So with that, we have 4 primary objectives. The first being, as I said earlier, to recognize innovators, innovation and inclusivity. So we know that there are barriers and challenges to even breaking into space tech, to how do you address some of the structural or capacity building challenges. Those people out there may know how to solve for that. So we want to recognize them for what they're doing. We also want to highlight the best practices for the work that's being done that we can learn from. You know, certainly in DC, we can create all the policies and programs that we want, but if we don't incorporate those best practices, we may be missing the mark and missing those innovators that are out there. We also want to enhance our outreach efforts. So we want to find folks that are out in Wyoming or Montana, or maybe not in close proximity to a center, who may be an ideal candidate for our funding opportunities. We want to know how to reach those communities through this prize. And then also finally is for community building. One way that great teams are developed is by creating a sense of community and awareness of where the opportunities may reside. So we want to create that atmosphere for increased collaboration and increased awareness of opportunities that'll get folks within our pipeline. All right, next slide.
Yeah, and I can jump in here. Any
Sure.
other kind of final words?
I think what I would say is I know that most of us and probably all of us in this this webinar have been influenced, encouraged, nurtured, or you yourself may be doing those things by someone who has shifted the trajectory of your career, your research, and the work that you do. I would say that is the definition of a catalyst. And what I would say is please consider putting in a submission for this prize, because what we find is that a lot of people will assume that they're not a great fit when they actually might be an ideal fit for what we're doing. And Oliver will get into more of the technical areas that we're looking for, but definitely I'm really excited to see you here today.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, and then just to call out, so there is a Q&A box, so we'll be doing some Q&A at the end. I see 1 or 2 good questions already coming in. So feel free to add your questions as we continue along with this webinar. So one of the most important items here is the spacetechcatalyst.prize.org. This is the competition web platform all of the information and functionality that you need to submit to the challenge is on this website. So you can get information, read the rules and requirements document, FAQ page, which we regularly update, other types of resources, but importantly, there is a register form. So you'll need to register you or your organization, and then the submission form. And so I can kind of walk you through that later on in this webinar, but please visit spacetechcatalystprize.org. That is the destination for the challenge and really the hub with all of the crucial information you'll need, and then where you'll also submit your submission. So first, let's think about the prizes that we will be that NASA will be providing in this competition. So because this is a recognition prize, there isn't a first place, second place, third place. We are trying to find those catalysts and, you know, those champions of underrepresented innovators, and we want to award each of them $25,000. So there will be 20 awards at a $25,000 prize, cash prize, totaling about $500,000 in total prizes. So there is this nice cash prize to incentivize you to submit, and so we can, you know, garner some of these best practices for capacity building, and, you know, incent the community to participate and come and join the NASA ESIP funding landscape and learn how to, you know, compete and win space technology opportunities. But also, there is an in-person convening event. So if you are a selected winner, you will be invited to an in-person event at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, which will be held in April of next year. So that's a Wednesday, April 17th. We will be coming together, networking, learning from each other. There will be a panel. There will be various panel discussions on, like I said, capacity building practices, future NASA ESIP funding opportunities, and then you'll also get a chance to tour the actual Goddard space flight facilities. So there's a really cool non-monetary incentive to winning, which is to get invited to this awesome event at Goddard Space Flight Center. So yeah, we're really excited about this, and we'll also be providing you a travel stipend to cover lodging, food, and transportation. So yeah, this is a really cool event, and we're really excited to get to invite our winners to, again, you know, advance the community and do great networking. And yeah, we're really excited to get to run this impactful event. So that is another kind of form of prize for entering this competition. Okay, so the question is, what do I actually have to do? So you must submit a competition entry by February 22nd of next year by 5 p.m. Eastern. And what that means is you must complete all of the form fields on the submit page to officially enter the competition. You will not be able to access that submit page unless you are first a registered user. So first you will register. You can just jump to the website. You'll see at the top of the screen, it'll have a countdown to see how many days you have left to register. You'll complete a quick form to get your name, organizational details, and then you'll be able to log into the website and you will be able to submit your entry. So one of the most important elements of this competition is that your work in capacity building to serve underrepresented communities needs to be grounded in a ESIP relevant technology or a NASA relevant technology. So there's a list of about 17 or 18 technical categories: advanced avionics, small spacecraft technologies, in situ resource utilization, basically a whole host of technical categories that your work must be related to. So if you are doing capacity building, but unrelated to space, that's fantastic. But we are looking for capacity building with underrepresented communities as it relates to space technologies. So there is that kind of key consideration that you should think about when you enter this competition, because this is a required field. You will need to designate the type of technology that you have worked in. So what actually will you be submitting? So like I said, it's a form. I can jump to it here in a second so you can kind of see what it looks like on the actual challenge website. There's I would say 7 core elements to develop. So first, defining the community that you support. And I think it's also important to appreciate that this is not about you. This is about the community that you're supporting, and we want to celebrate you. But if you know the submission is all about you and your ideas and your technology that you're building, again, that's awesome. But that's not what this prize is looking for. We are looking to celebrate the champions and shepherds and catalysts who are supporting underserved communities. So we want to understand who that community is. Who is it that you're supporting? And we'd like you to be as specific as possible. Next, the capacity building approach. What are you actually doing to raise up this community so that to enhance their ability to pursue space technology research? What are the tactics or strategies that you've implemented to help capacity build? We will also be looking for impact and evidence to demonstrate the impact with data and narratives. Also want to understand the community challenges that this unique community might be facing. And then we're also curious to know how you would enhance the community capacity in the future. So the future enhancements is also an important part of this submission. We will also ask for 2 references so that we can do our due diligence to make sure that all of the kind of impact and evidence that you present is authentic. And then the final element really is creating a 2-minute max video. So this is this can be a screen recording of you talking to a computer, really kind of articulating your story, your narrative, but we are not looking for an overly produced video. We are not looking for a long graphics kind of heavy video. We just want to see and learn about you and your story in a video format. So you will also upload either a YouTube video or a Vimeo video, some type of link that that the judges can view. So some type of publicly accessible link is what we're looking for there. Then you do need to confirm your eligibility with this prize, and then also acknowledge that you have read and understand the competition rules and requirements. So those are the 9 elements that are required for a submission. And like I said, I can show you on the website what that looks like to provide any additional guidance to you. So how will all of the submissions be evaluated? So we'll be using a Likert scale with 4 main judge criteria: effective engagement, impact on communities, cultural awareness, and then future impact potential. So it's important that when you are developing your submission, you consider those 4 judge categories, because those are the categories that the judges will use to score and evaluate your submission. So we want to understand to what extent the submission effectively engages underrepresented communities. Was it an effective strategy based on the impact evidence and narrative that you've provided? To what extent does the submission contribute to capacity building efforts delivering impact to the community? So what's the level of impact? Cultural awareness. Of course, different underserved communities might need different tailored strategies or tactics based on the nuances of that community. And then also we are looking for that future impact potential. And so all of these elements will be important for evaluating your submission. So like I said, it's a best practice to kind of map those 4 criteria to your submission so you can make sure that each one of those items is discussed in your submission. So eligibility. So this is a competition where individuals must be U.S. citizens or permanent residents of the United States and be 18 years of age or older. Organizations must be an entity incorporated in and maintaining a primary place of business in the United States. And your team must be comprised of otherwise eligible individuals or organizations led by a U.S. citizen who's 18 years or older. So those are like the core elements of this competition. So if you are not a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and you are not part of a team where your team is comprised of otherwise eligible individuals, then this competition is not a good fit for you. And we will be only looking for those individuals who are U.S. citizens because basically just the structure of this competition. So U.S. government employees also may participate so long as they're not acting within the scope of their position and are not relying on any facilities, access, personnel knowledge, or other resources that would give them any type of advantage. So the eligibility is pretty broad, but definitely make sure that you are actually eligible. We will be going and doing due diligence to make sure that you are eligible. And we'll also, if need be asking for additional documentation to support your submission. So now I'm going to just jump into the timeline. So we've launched the competition. It's live. We have a pretty long open submission period. So the key date to keep in mind is that the registration will close February 8th. So you must register before that time. If you do not, you will be unable to submit. So there's a registration deadline, and then there's the actual submission deadline. So the submission deadline is about 2 weeks after that registration closes. So the full competition closes on February 22nd of next year. This is when all of your submissions must be submitted into the website. So then we will go through the actual judging, and then winners will be announced sometime in March, tentatively for March 13th. And then we would be implementing the convening event about a month later on the 17th of April. So these are the high-level milestones to consider when you are thinking about either registering or submitting for the competition. So before we go to QA, I do want to take a moment to walk you through this site. And actually, there were some good questions here that I think also the site can help address. So I've jumped onto spacetechcatalystprize.org. I am currently logged in. I could log out, but I will choose not to do that. So I will come back to the homepage. Before I jump to the submit, I want to just point you to some of the key pages here. So one of the most important pages is rules and eligibility. So really, really important if you're unfamiliar with prize challenges, the most important document to read is the rules and requirements document. So you can come here, open this, and then this is a 14-page document that has all of the information that you need to submit. So for example, one of the questions was asking how we defined a underrepresented community. So that is answered right here. We define underserved and underrepresented communities as those that have historically faced persistent inequity or encountered barriers that have limited their access to opportunities including Black, Latino, Indigenous, and Native American persons, Asian Americans, and Pacific Islanders, and other persons of color, those who identify as women, members of religious minorities, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer persons, persons with disabilities, persons who live in rural areas, and persons otherwise adversely affected by persistent poverty or inequality. So this is the definition that the competition gives to answer your question. That is, how we define underrepresented communities. Hey, Dina, do you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, it's a great question. What we're trying to get to the heart of with having this kind of prize is we know that there are a lot of challenges. So, for instance, when you're starting up a company, you need access to capital. We know that historically there have been challenges to accessing capital, particularly in a very technical field, and we wanted to address those barriers in a authentic way by you tapping into people who um, know how to navigate those challenges or who are aware of it and are responsive to it. So sometimes that breaks down along racial lines, but as you see, this definition is very expansive to not only race, gender, ability, or disability, but also geographic area, rural areas. So it's a lot of different factors. It's more of getting to the heart of, are there barriers? Are there challenges that are outside of the control of that individual that prevents them from engaging in the process of proposing to our solicitation or engaging in a NASA related resource?
Awesome, thank you. So, as I mentioned, you can find this PDF download link on our rules and eligibility page. When you submit, you are acknowledging that you've fully read those rules. So everyone who is interested in submitting, please read those. Very important. We tried to also, of course, get all of this information onto the website so that it's easy to access. So a lot of the items related to IP and media rights, all of these items that are in the rules and requirements are also found on the website. But that rules requirements PDF is a really important document for you to read and understand. So we also have an FAQ page. So when we get questions, for example, we added some questions based on the last webinar that we ran. We're constantly updating this. So we have, this is a live page. So definitely recommend you check out the FAQ page where some of your questions might already be answered by other folks. So for example, to amend your submission, we will review and take the latest compliant submission. And there was another good question that I just, again, wanted to call out. So what is needed for video submissions? We've gotten some questions on that, which I kind of described earlier. How do I know if my area of research is considered space technology? So again, it's very important to understand the ESIP technology areas of interest and then look at those specific technology categories. We also have some folks who are presenting their own ideas and concepts. And again, we want to say that is fantastic. We love to see people submit, working on their own ideas. But for this competition, we are not interested in, this is not a competition awarding money for space tech R&D. This is a recognition prize for catalysts and champions who are supporting underserved communities. So this is not an appropriate funding vehicle for example, a new technology that you are building. What would be appropriate is NASA SBIRs or STTRs, other challenges that are related. So there's a whole host of potential opportunities to work on space tech, but this is celebrating individuals who are doing capacity building, because we have had one or two applicants who are kind of just promoting their own technology, and those certainly won't be awarded, just to give everyone a heads up.
I did want to speak to just the question about the technical ESIP relevant technical areas. I like to think of it um, for our many people have heard about, let's say, the Artemis missions, some of our, beyond the moon and Mars. We have kind of a framework, we call it a STAR framework, that if you look at the 18 technical areas, they usually fall under the concepts of go. What are the technologies that we need to be able to let us go, whether it's aviation, propulsion, landing mechanisms, entry, descent, and landing. Um, we need to go, land, live, meaning habitation systems, materials, um, sensors, so, and then finally explore. So remote sensing, that sort of thing. So what I'm getting to is that we know that people may be developing ESIP related technologies that are outside of the aerospace industry, but they have clear application to aerospace challenges and problems that we're looking to solve. So that's where I want to encourage people, if they are doing scientific engineering or other types of research, that they may very well fall within any of those 18 categories. I just want to caution people from having a very narrow view of what applies as space technology, because it has a lot of different components under that umbrella term.
Yeah, thanks for calling that out. Maybe I was even a little too narrow when I was talking about it. There needs to be that clear alignment with a NASA ESIP technology area, but the ESIP technology areas are expansive, as Dina was describing. Great. So yeah, we definitely familiarizing yourself with their framework, the Go, Land, Live, Explore framework is definitely also a really important consideration here. We also have an invite a mentor form. So if you know a mentor who you think would be a great fit, you can go ahead and enter their email address. We'll take that email and then invite them and say, hey, you've been nominated. So we would give them the guidance to submit. So for some folks, they might not even consider themselves a good fit, but you see them as a valuable mentor. So if you have a person like that in mind, we also invite you to use the invite a mentor feature. We also have a contact us form. So, we've been actively answering some questions and other things. So please feel free to use this. Just give us a few days to process your request and then provide an answer. But we do have this as well. And then one of the last items I wanted to show you before we jumped into the submission form is the media and resources page. So there's a question, for example, about the webinar. So we will be hosting the webinar link on a new blog post. You can also see there's, for example, some other interesting media resources. For example, this points to NASA's software catalog, which offers free programs for Earth science. But if you're interested in accessing this informational webinar, or the first informational webinar, you can go ahead and jump on this page and then access the video link. So the same thing we will do for this webinar. So if you're interested in this recording, take a look at the media and resources page. So the final element is the actual submission page. So I'm going to jump to submit. I'm currently logged in, so I can access this submission portal. So it'll ask you for your name, affiliation, name of organization, state of residence, and then it will ask you for that relevant ESIP technology category, and then jump into the actual form field inputs. So the community, the solution, impact and evidence, community challenges, future enhancements. And these have there are character limits, but you have a lot of there's a lot of room to write out your submission. So you should not be constrained by characters, because each one of these can support like up to a page worth of content. So there is plenty of room for you to go into detail on each of these elements, and we invite you to go into true depth here, so that the submission should not be just 1 or 2 sentences, because that won't be enough for our judges to actually evaluate. And then, like I mentioned, there's some references that we would want to collect. Then the video, where you would enter your YouTube or Vimeo link, your proof of citizenship, and then acknowledgement of the rules. And then a recent thing that we have done is implemented a save and continue feature. So if you have started this, but realize maybe I don't have a reference, or maybe I need to make my video, I didn't have my video ready when I started the submission, that's totally okay. You can save and continue. And what this will do is it'll ask you to enter your email. Then we'll email you a dynamic link that will be live for 30 days. So you can jump back to that link, and then that will dynamically load your submission. So if there is something that you forgot, you can basically access all of that data again, and resubmit, or not even submit, just basically finish your submission. So I did want to call out that save and continue feature, which will email you a dynamic link to open your save submission. All right. I think that's pretty much everything from this website that we wanted to walk through. So I think we can go ahead and start looking at some of the questions. So if you haven't submitted any questions, now is a good time to go ahead and do that, and we will start to address some of your questions. So I'm going to just go ahead and start taking some of these, and then Dina,
Yep.
I'll pass them to you if
Okay.
I think you would be so first question, if you don't win, is there a chance to network with NASA to promote ideas that we have? If you don't win, we will provide additional resources to other ESIP funding opportunities, and I would basically say using the SBIR opportunities or STTR opportunities, or the other host of funding opportunities that NASA ESIP has, would probably be your best bet. But yeah, thoughts
Yep.
on that if you're not a winner but
Yes,
still want to continue?
I think that's a great question. Yes, part of the purpose of this prize is to kind of find folks who are interested in the work that we do, the funding opportunities that we have, that may not have heard of us till even today. So I believe there is a question in the registration page to say, are you aware of ESIP, or how much familiar you are with ESIP, as well as are you interested in receiving information? We are standing up our kind of solicitation outlook, where we will be sending out information probably on a quarterly basis to let you know of the upcoming funding opportunities, whether it is through our NIAC or space grant, space technology research grant, or from some other venue. We will let you know of that. So great question.
Awesome, wonderful. This question says, hello, how will the separation of teams work? Sorry, can you rephrase the question in another question? I'm not sure what you mean by the separation of teams. Is the next question, is the area of research inclusive of secondary education, middle and high school?
That that's a good one. What I would say is that a lot of ESIP's work is focused on probably higher education and above. But we know that there are feeder programs that do pick up high school students, as research assistants, that nature. If they're the work that you are doing that are preparing researchers and innovators who could be proposers for our opportunities, I would say submit it, give it a shot. Let's see what the judges say on that. It is a fair question. I if we're talking like elementary, that's a bit too far down the line. Though I would like to meet an elementary student who could propose to our programs, but I would say go ahead, submit, tell us what you do, and the community that you're serving, and let's see where we go.
Great. So the next question, if my university is considered as serving minorities and underrepresented communities, is that enough for an applicant, or are more details documents needed to be provided? So at a high level, the answer is yes, that's definitely enough to be an applicant. The details and documents should be defined and described in that submission form. So we want to know who you are. Again, who are these communities? How is your university serving them? Who are the kind of individual champions or catalysts in your university so that we might be able to celebrate.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yep, that's exactly right. I would say tell your story. Of how your university, the work that you're doing, whether you're at a MSI, HBCU, or a TSU or TCU, tell us your story, what you do, and the impact that you're making.
Wonderful. So another question, should the application be applicable to any ESIP technology? Yes, your submission must be applicable to one or more of the ESIP technologies that is listed in the kind of framework, and then is also listed on the website. So I'll give folks another few minutes to throw in your questions. Now is a great time to get direct answers from NASA. And any other questions or clarifications that we can provide to you now, we would love to do so.
One thing that I would say that I am really excited about with this prize is not only getting a sense of who's out there, because this is the first time we've done this sort of thing. One of the biggest challenges that we have in NASA is that we kind of get in our own little bubble. And this is a prize that is very much outward facing, breaking that mold. And so I would love to definitely have you guys come in as part of the community that we're building. The second thing I'm excited about is the convening event. So not only is it a celebration and recognition of the work that you all are doing out in your own communities, but it also is an opportunity for us to meet you. And when I say us, that means NASA leadership, technology experts in all of those areas that were mentioned earlier, and our program execs. We want this as an opportunity for you guys to get under the hood a bit into how our solicitations work, what we're looking for. We want to equip you guys to be able to spread the message out to the communities that you're serving.
Yep, absolutely. So I will give folks 1 or 2 more minutes to submit any final questions. And just again, that final plug, to learn more, visit the website, register, and then submit your entry.
And what I would say also is that certainly if you fit kind of that framework that we're defining as a catalyst, please. I know a lot of times it's hard to promote the work that we're doing. this is not that time to think of that. Do not hold back. Please share what the work that you're doing. But if there is somebody that you feel would be someone that needs to be recognized, that you would love to have highlighted, to bring into this conversation, please share this prize with them. Encourage them to submit to the nominations process. So yeah, tell a friend is definitely a message that I want to convey.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so it doesn't look like we were getting any more questions. So again, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We hope this was helpful to you. We will be posting this on our website. We'll also be following up an email with the YouTube link to this webinar. So with that, we can go ahead and close out this webinar, and thanks very much and have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.